This is the first in a series about how we communicate in the workplace. We're going to be covering a whole variety of topics of all the ways in which we get ideas communicated from one person to another. So let's get to it. The process of communication. It is a process of creating and exchanging meaningful ideas through interaction. It is a process that's constantly moving and changing, and we are looking to get meaning when we're sharing ideas, thoughts, understandings with each other. And this is done through interaction. So we need to rely on words and nonverbal behaviors to communicate to each other in terms of our feelings and our meanings. I struggle with this every day in the workplace, and that's why it's so appropriate to spend some time in this episode, as well as a series of episodes that follows it, about how we can do a better job communicating with each other. In terms of communication, there's the message that's being sent out by the person who's initiating communication. And really, whether they realize or not, they're encoding a message specifically into the spoken word, could be through the written word. It all comes down to the channel of communication they use to communicate and convey that. We'll be spending time talking about all the different strategies that can be involved. Recipients attempt to decode the message. And I'm constantly astonished how one person may intend a meaning one way, but the interpretation of the meaning is completely different. And so the recipient of information needs to try and attempt to acknowledge their understanding by providing feedback, and they have to select a channel by which they can get that information back to the speaker. Communication is not easy. A lot of it is verbal, but there's a significant amount of communication that happens on a non-verbal basis. We use our bodies to communicate. We use inflection in our speech in different cultures with different languages do this with heightened awareness. And we have to remember that when we are in the act of communicating. There are different meanings in language. In the English language, in different parts of Canada, things mean different in terms of their meanings, depending on where you are. In Eastern Canada, a meal that happens late in the day is called supper. And yet, they also use the word dinner to mean the same meal, whereas in Western Canada, the word dinner can mean a large meal in the midday. So we have to be very careful with the language we pick. There's cultural biases that are built in to audiences' perceptions. And we need to be aware of that. And we need to work to avoid all the distractions that come into the workplace each and every day that capture our attention and distract us from the job that we're doing. So what do we communicate? How is business different today than it was before? What communication skills are essential today? How much will I really have to write? And the answer is, with email, a lot. How much does correspondence cost? A lot, because it involves your time. What makes a message effective? We'll be exploring that. How do you begin to analyze communication situations? And that we're going to be covering that in these sessions. Does it affect your ability to get work? And the answer is absolutely. You have to be able to communicate basic skills. You got to be able to convey meaning with numbers. You have to be an active listener. You need to be responsible and adaptable, accept the concept of lifetime learning, because that's with all of us. And in the workplace, most importantly, you need to work within a team environment. You may not like the team members you're working with, but that doesn't change the fact you have to work with them. You have to work to find, ways and means to get projects done and tasks done. work in a meaningful way, and you have to understand what the goals are for the team. Whether you agree with them or not does not matter. In the workplace, we receive compensation. That's our thank you and our motivator. When we get our paycheck, thank you very much. And when we are working in the team environment, and we're part of the team. So we communicate to connect with one another. We want results. We want to adapt our messages so that it meets the needs of our audience. When mistakes are made, it costs money. Messaging has never been faster. And there's so many channels to communicate in. Spoken word, voice over telephone, voice over internet, pictures over internet, faxes, email, websites, social media. All these are now channels by which we communicate with each other each and every day. There has never been a time where we spend so much time engaged in communication as we do now. Never before in our history as human beings have we spent so much time doing this. So that is our first session. If you like the ideas that are being presented, I'd encourage you to press the like button. There's going to be more in this series. This is going to be a rather extensive series. Feel free to subscribe to this channel if you think that this information is going to be of use. And certainly if you have any questions, do not hesitate to give your comments in the comments section. So until the next session, I challenge you to get your meaning across to others.